Welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing. On today's show, Twitter shuts the door on developers. Everyone and their mother joins the In-Location Alliance, and PayPal, wow, jumps on the Discover bus, don't they? Plus, the usual funding and M&A activity, our resource of the week, and special guest, Michael Hagan, who is the COO of LevelUp. I can't believe it. What a show. Coming up right now. Welcome, everybody. This is episode number 92 of This Week in Location-Based Marketing. We're recording this live Sunday night, August 26, 2012. Welcome to the show. My name is Rob Woodbridge from Untethered.tv. I'm in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, after a great trip to Asif's hometown. Welcome, buddy.
Good to be here as usual. Asif Khan from the Location-Based Marketing Association. You can find us at the LBMA on Twitter or on the .com. And yeah, it's great to be here. I missed you when you were in town, Rob. You were in and out, but I know you got your money's worth. So yeah.
Boy, did I ever, yes. For those of you who didn't know or aren't in Toronto or aren't Springsteen fans, or this is your first episode, Friday night, Rogers Centre, which is the Toronto Blue Jays baseball stadium, downtown Toronto, right by the waterfront. Beautiful location. My goodness, a 3-hour and 47-minute marathon concert by Bruce Springsteen. Can't believe it, Asif. You should have been there.
Yeah, I mean, I like the guy. I like the music. I'm just not a big fan like you, Rob. I gotta say, you know, if someone gave me the tickets, I'd go, but. Yeah.
Well, you know what? He converted a whole bunch of people that night. And for those of you who were in the audience, there was a special moment. I got to play like 10 seconds of this song because it brought so much. And for those of you who aren't Springsteen fans, this will convert you. He did this piano acoustic version of Incident on 57th Street. It was unbelievable. It was hypnotic. I got to play it here. I'm going to play like 10 seconds of it. And then, of course, YouTube is going to shut us down. But I'm going to play 10 seconds of it anyways. Here it is. Here is Springsteen. Just a clip from the other night. It was
dressed just like dynamite. He tried selling his heart to the hard girls over on Easy Street. They said, Johnny, it falls apart so easy. And you know that these days are cheap.
I could quite seriously do that all day. My apologies. I have a fanaticism around Springsteen. That's probably longer than 10 seconds. But if you want to do it, just go ahead. Google it or YouTube it. Just do Incident on 57th. What a great way to start the show. Come on, Asif.
Well, I mean, I couldn't hear it while you were playing it, so there you go.
I know.
I missed it, but I will catch it on the once this thing goes live, so there you go.
Yes. Well, don't worry. I'll include the link in the show notes because it's worth it. That's for sure. All right, so that was the only thing that we had going on, that I had going on this weekend. We don't have anything to push. There's no events. There's no nothing other than pure news from the past week. Obviously, we are going to touch on Twitter. We got a special clip here that I put together from Brett McLean, who is a local entrepreneur in Toronto, and we had this very conversation about building your product on somebody else's ecosystem, and now all of a sudden something's going on with Twitter. We're going to touch on that. We got this in-location alliance that is being formed by about 1,000 companies. We're going to talk about Red Cross, Tokyo Metro, and My Town, PayPal, and of course this teaming up with Discover. And we've got Michael coming up. We've got funding news. We've got our resource of the week. Did you know that mobile ad spending is going to hit $7.4 billion? That's crazy. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. So before I give it all away, why don't we just jump into this? Our first story, we're going to talk about this for just a minute here because there is a location and a marketing segment to this. But Twitter, over the last week, has successively shut down access or limited access, and some people are saying to their API, and some people are saying that this will actually limit innovation. The very thing that got Twitter to where it is today will limit innovation going forward. You have a take on this, Asif? Strictly from a location standpoint, Twitter has been called the nervous system of the internet, and location was a big part of this, certainly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the idea of automatically broadcasting your location, or at least having that as an option from the user's perspective, associated with that tweet that you were pushing out there, I think is a big piece. The question around this API issue has to do with who controls that information, and where is it starting from. So Twitter's argument here, with this is that we're doing that ourselves. We're building that into our own system. We don't need third parties that are leveraging the Twitter infrastructure, to do that for us. So ideally, what they're going for here is that they've done a great job over the last couple of years of effectively using the marketing infrastructure of other people to grow the user base of Twitter, is how I look at it. And now they're saying, well, we've done this, we've gotten to a substantial user base. We're trying to figure out how to monetize now. We've got promoted tweets going. We've got all these kinds of things going on, and we're more than capable of building all this stuff ourselves. Into the platform. We don't need all these third-party, relationships anymore. There was a big announcement about, around Tumblr this week. They shut off Tumblr. LinkedIn dropped, the relationship with Twitter a few months back in the summer, at the beginning of the summer, and a lot of people were complaining about that. So, but ultimately, I think this is a good move for Twitter.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you. Twitter, there's always a challenge, and I'm going to show you this clip in a second here with Breton, whose company is Flixel, and he built a product called Tweetagora a while ago, and it was basically another Twitter client, but it did some unique features that Twitter has now shut down and decided to shut down, which was the ability to mute people. I mean, this is all baked into the new version or the new API terms and services. And there are a lot of companies that this is going to have an impact on it. But I think the biggest thing that they're trying to do is create innovation. Don't recreate something that that Twitter's going to do. And also, there was that staggering statistic. We brought it up in an early episode where 70 to 80 to 85% of all activity in Twitter was through the APIs and not through Twitter.com. Very hard to monetize that when everybody else is making money off of it. So this is a logical thing, but there is a challenge here, building something on somebody else's platform. And I'm going to flip this over to Breton, who is wise in this. And this is his second time. I'm just going to play a minute or two. This is an interview that I did with him a couple of weeks back for Untether.tv. You can find the whole episode up there on Untether.tv. I'm just going to give it a whirl here and give this a listen. My question really is about what were you thinking about building on somebody else's platform? Because earlier on in the interview, what we had talked about was the fact that Chirp, which was the very first developer conference that Twitter ever did, was the only developer conference that they ever did, and that was a clear indication about where they were going. And so here's Brett, and I'll just roll it for a few minutes, and hopefully you get a little bit of insight from somebody who's done this before. A little bit more direct, Brett. I mean, what were you thinking back then? Building on the ecosystem of Twitter like this, thinking like, all the signs, as you said, with the right eyes, somebody who's not impassioned or passionate about their product, like me. I mean, I loved your product, but I wasn't breathing it every day. But you could start to see this turn a little bit against you guys. Would you ever do that again? Would you ever build a product on a platform like Twitter?
Well, at the time, right up until the Tweety acquisition, it was a viable business strategy. And because of the fact that Twitter was actually promoting these clients, and because of the fact that we were doing something that none of the other ones were doing, it didn't seem as crazy then to go for it. We were ultimately creating something for ourselves that we felt that other people like us would use, and that's usually the recipe for a great product. But building on top of somebody else's platform is really risky.
Foursquare could do the same thing tomorrow. Like how many other systems out there are using Foursquare's database? right now to pull in locations.
But shouldn't that frighten people?
Or things like that from Groupon or whatever. There's a problem that exists across the system.
Yeah.
But I understand, early on when you're launching platforms, you want developers building with you. You want everybody helping grow, and scale up for you.
So this is a real risk, and we bring this up here as a caveat. Look what happened to Tweetagora and to Breton. Look what's happening to all these companies like LinkedIn, who are relying on Facebook or Twitter for their stream, and what's going on with Tumblr, and what's going on with Instagram. These companies that used to once rely on Twitter, not so much anymore. So if you're building your business around somebody else's API, be warned. That free love, that utopian world that we lived in for the last couple of years, somebody has to make some money at some point, and that's what Twitter's waking up and realizing. Good business move, I think, but tough on the developers. All right. Yes, so we'll leave that alone now. Love your feedback on that. What do you think? If you're a developer, reach out, untether@gmail.com. Thank you. All right, so our real first story around this focused on the location space. What you got to explain this to me, because there's like 300 companies that have come together to form this in-location alliance, and none of those companies are the dominant ones that are out there right now, led by Nokia. Neat idea. Explain it, and then let's talk about, is this something that is actually necessary in this world that we live in?
Well, here's how I look at this. So there's 22 companies involved. As you said, led by Nokia.
Only 22
powerhouses. Broadcom, Genesis. InCTO is one of the was one of the big players out of France. Nordic Semiconductor, Rapid Blue, Qualcomm, Sony Mobile. I mean, the list. Samsung. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So what is this thing? This is an alliance, it's called, of folks who are interested in cooperating around indoor location, indoor positioning. And I think it's interesting. I mean, they're focusing on the Bluetooth 4.0 standard and Wi-Fi standards. So for me, this is kind of an offshoot of the the Wi-Fi standards body. In some respects, guys who've been part of that organization for a long time, but are focusing on indoor location as a revenue opportunity, and trying to promote that as a business. I get it. Recent studies have come out and said indoor location is the next billion-dollar market, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think that there's massive opportunities available here. I question, however, whether the effectiveness of a group like this. I mean, there was no information on what it's going to look like. Who's who's leading it. Is there a mandate to put out research? What are the objectives other than we're banding together to say we all support the same industry standards from a technology perspective.
And that's it.
And we're going to have interoperability between our hardware.
But the hardware, I mean, it's not the relevant hardware. Like there's no Apple involved in this, and it's a weird thing that the hardware manufacturers are jumping into this, and especially 22 of them. That's unwieldy. That's too many people to be involved in this to come up with a standard. And are we at a point where inside location requires a standard? I mean, I can understand. Are they building it on a Bluetooth standard, right?
Well, I think they're using the existing standards, is what they're saying. But this is about interoperability. Is to say, okay, I've got this broadband router thing sitting in here, and it's a Nokia or device or Samsung device or something, and then this Qualcomm phone over here is going to be able to talk to it because we designed it to work together. I don't know.
Big stretch.
I really don't know where this is going to go. But hey, it's I'll applaud the recognition that indoor location is going to be a huge market.
And it is, and we know that indoor location is going to be massive, and there's some great use cases out there about indoor location. It's not just about finding stores and retail and pushing ads. It goes much deeper than that, and indoor location is a challenge because it requires hardware. But I think if these guys were smart, they would look at this. So Bluetooth as a standard is fine, but I would look at peer-to-peer, like a mesh network inside of the locations that they're at. Like, so indoor mesh networking with a Bluetooth standard that allowed you to do it dynamically. They could create traffic patterns and flows and understand how many people are in line somewhere. Do something useful like that, as opposed to interoperability stuff that they're talking about here. Leverage the platforms that they've got and all the devices that are out there, and give me a map of something so that finally, I talked about this with the Toronto Sports and Entertainment folks, is that why I really want to know how long the lineup is. Where's the shortest lineup for the beer? That's it. Like, answer that question, and you've got me. Don't give me other stuff. Just answer, where's the shortest line, where's the shortest distance between me and handing somebody my money for a beer. If you answer that question with indoor mapping and indoor location, you've won. You've won the game. That's where they should be focusing on. Beer. All right.
Or Springsteen.
Well, they go hand in hand, by the way, just so you know. Open air. All right, so that's interesting. In Location Alliance, we have no spot. I found the story on the Boy Genius Report, bgr.com, and I have no idea where else you can find it. But just do a search for In Location Alliance if you're interested in finding a little bit more information about it. We'll see. We'll keep our eye out for this. How's that? All right, the second story, this is a feel-good story. My experience, I got to tell you, today, frustration, yesterday, frustration with mobile websites. God, they suck ass out there. They suck. This is a warning to you guys. Your websites suck. What was I on today? I was probably on 30 different mobile websites today as we were touring around. They all sucked. They all sucked. And you know what? The Thai Express, it's a chain here of Thai restaurants. They sucked the most. ThaiExpress.com, you suck as a mobile experience. So when I saw this story come across, the Red Cross redesigning their website with a more mobile-friendly, mobile-first approach, I applauded this because the stuff that they're talking about is exactly what everybody else should be doing. So kudos to them. Let's talk about what they've done here. And Thai Express, your website sucks on a mobile device, and that's going to cost you customers. Carry on.
Yeah, and it's not. And I think the interesting thing here is it's not only optimizing your website for mobile and making sure that you're doing that, but it's the combination of what you're doing on mobile web and you're doing on apps, and that's what Red Cross is done here. They said, look, mobile is big, it's huge. We got to be all over it, and we're going to make sure everything we're doing is optimized for that. So that they launched a Red Cross first aid app. They've got a hurricane app out there, iOS and Android for both of these things. And now they've gone and they basically, sort of completely revamped the website. And the interesting thing about it is the reason that caught my attention is they've factored in location-based services into the mobile web experience. And so what happens is they basically say that if you're in a person that's in a particular state, you're impacted by a hurricane, you may have a different content delivery experience than somebody in a different state that has wildfires going on right now. So they're looking at where you're viewing the content from, or where you're connecting to their site from a location perspective, and they're delivering relevant content to you based on that experience.
Yeah, this to me, is exactly what we should be doing here in the contextualized location world. And context can be a number of things, as you said: forest fires, natural disasters. This is what Red Cross plays. And when I launch an application in Ottawa or in New York City and nothing's going on, I should be able to get. I'm interested in expanding to that, but my first view should be my local view. And some of the things that they're talking about here that I'm just going to pull up on screen, hopefully people can read this, is a little bit geolocation, which is huge, but it's also a new mobile optimized site so that it plays to the strengths of the folks or the location of where you are, so that this is great. So if there's a training session that's going on nearby, this is something that you can actually do. You can sign up for those kind of things. They've also, donations. They made it very easy to donate. And, I think that that's one of the key things. You can donate. I'll pull that up in a second, but you can donate absolutely to any, it's not just relevant to you. You can donate, like here, I'll pull it up here. Donate, for example. You can donate funds to, as it comes up here, where the need is greatest, which I think is the coolest feature of all, the disaster relief or your local Red Cross chapter. What they're doing here is what everybody should be doing when it comes to location and mobile, is just understanding who your audience is, that this is something that is different for every location. And good on Red Cross for doing that. I like it. And Thai Express, your website sucks. But you know what? It's not only that. It's like, we were checking out the Eaton Center website, the mall in Toronto, and that sucked because I couldn't find out what time stores were open or closed till. There are certain things that you just need to do. The common sense. I don't even know. You can stand on top of a pulpit. You can use examples like Red Cross and say, this is what people should be doing. But if people don't get it, they don't understand, they're going to start losing business as a result. And, man... So, if you want to check out a good site, go to redcross.org/m/index.jsp. And just on any browser, it's important you do the /m/index.jsp, and you'll get to the mobile version of the website. And wherever you are, it's context relevant. Very cool. redcross.org. A while back, we talked about this company, MyTown, didn't we, Asif?
We did. It's been a long time, though.
Yeah, like maybe episode in the 40s somewhere, a whole world ago, maybe a year ago. But so what, they've signed an agreement with, they're going to be featured in the Tokyo metro stations now?
Yeah, no, so what's happening is for those folks out there who aren't familiar with MyTown, go check it out. It's a really cool location-based gaming environment. So it's sort of like... Second Life, but with a connection to the real world. Let's call it that. So first of all, the idea behind MyTown is that it's a virtual world. You're going through all these different places, branded experiences in a virtual world, but they're connected to the same brands in the real world. So the idea is that you go to the Empire State Building in New York for real, and you check in there, and then that same thing can happen in the MyTown virtual world, and you can build your world based on things that you've interacted with in the real world. So what they've done here is they've signed a deal with Tokyo Metro, which is the transit authority in Tokyo, and UEMI. Which is the company behind MyTown, have put this deal together. And so as of now, effectively, as you're going to the subway stations, the train stations in Tokyo, 179 different metro stations in Tokyo, and you check into these places, you can then add them to your virtual world in MyTown. And then you can earn different points and items and things like that as well. So they're facilitating this relationship that we're talking about, which is it's kind of cool. I had a comment once from somebody who actually uses MyTown regularly, and they said to me, what they liked about it was, while there was check-ins in the real world involved, it wasn't the same as sharing your location on Foursquare or Facebook Places or anything like that from a broadcasting, privacy, data sharing perspective. Because what's really happening here is that you're checking in, but you're actually effectively checking in a virtual world. So you get the benefits of checking in a real world, but played out in a virtual world.
Well, I like the crossover. That's one of the things that we talked about in the first time that you brought up MyTown, and that crossover between real life and digital life is it's great effect. So another one of these stories that we're not sure where this goes, but certainly when you talk about metro stations in Tokyo, you're not talking about a few people. You're talking about massive exposure and massive opportunities. So we'll see what happens with MyTown. If you're interested in anything to do with those guys, you can hit up Booyah.com, BOOYAH.com, the makers of MyTown. Now here's a story. Maybe this was a predictor at the beginning of the year. You, Asif Khan, right there.
I did.
Right to this side, right here to me. Said, hey, listen, one of the companies to watch this year, big company, going to have a big impact in mobile. Yeah, you can point to yourself. Keep going. One of the biggest companies that is going to come out of this industry when it comes to commerce, enabling mobile transactions, one such PayPal, forging a relationship. You know, you thought it was big when something like Square signed up with 7,000 Starbucks, right? Well, PayPal just signed an agreement to piggyback with the Discover card, and on the Discover card transaction network, with how many? 7 million locations now can accept PayPal cards starting in March 2013.
Yeah, this is a huge deal for PayPal, and we've been talking about the Square thing, and we've been talking about JCPenney, and we've been talking about all this stuff the last few weeks. But here comes PayPal, and we were just a couple weeks ago we were saying what's happening with PayPal's here, and what's happening with all this stuff. We haven't heard a lot, and here we come. Boom, 7 million merchant locations across the U.S. with the Discover card. So all this is if you're a merchant, you already accept Discover. Now you basically also accept PayPal, via that card. So this is huge, for a lot of people. PayPal is also. I was reading elsewhere in the press release. They've signed up JCPenney. They've signed up Home Depot, Abercrombie and Fitch, Jamba Juice. I mean, they got all sorts of retailers coming on board with this. And in a slightly separate story, not to take anything away from the Discover thing, there was another story this week, and I didn't mention this in the notes to you, Rob, so I apologize, but they're also running a trial right now in France with 30 McDonald's locations. Yeah. So, McDonald's and PayPal. I mean, that's massive. And this one's interesting because it's not using any of the existing systems that PayPal has. This is a separate standalone smartphone app that they've put together. And customers basically on the for this McDonald's trial, you order your food through the app. You pay for it through the app, and then you go to a separate counter in the store to just pick up your stuff. That's just for PayPal customers. That's pretty cool. It's only 30 stores right now, but if this thing works, I mean, there's 30,000 McDonald's restaurants around the world.
It's crazy, and what I like about this PayPal story, I like PayPal. I love what they're doing. They're finally putting these pieces together to enable people to go and pay. And I mean, how many people have a PayPal? I mean, I get paid through PayPal all the time. And then what I do is I transfer it over from an American account to a Canadian account. And then what I do is I wait 7 days till it deposits into my bank account. This is a much more efficient way of allowing me to actually use those funds that are in there in real time, if it ever came up to Canada, which is one of the things challenges, but it doesn't require the merchants to add additional hardware or software. It doesn't require them to get on any additional network. It doesn't require them to do anything other than be able to accept this. And it comes with a credit card, I guess the PayPal cards, starting in March of 2013, where the card itself is not a credit card. It's basically an access card to all the accounts that you have attached to your PayPal account, which I love that. And then when you make a payment, they give you 7 days to decide where it comes from. And this is the closest thing I've ever seen to the real digital wallet. Remember we were talking about this a number of episodes ago. My view of a digital wallet is enabling me to pay with the resources that I have. So if there's anything with monetary value, like Facebook credits, cash, PayPal cash, bank account, credit cards, wherever there's money that makes sense, wherever there's the lowest interest rate that I can use at that moment, wherever the biggest benefit is, whatever, if it's an American Express transaction and I get a 5% discount, I want to be able to use that. I want to be able to apply the best use of funds to this. And I think that this is the beginning of that for PayPal, just because it's not affixed to a credit card. And you can see that this moving to the mobile space pretty quickly. But man, this is they're saying all the right things. We're going to see how this rolls out, but 7 million locations will accept now the PayPal. And I can't imagine the McDonald's is going through this lightly. 30 in Europe, but come on. Like, it's only a matter of time before they start to roll this out when this is a success. Right? My God.
I love it.
PayPal.
Go PayPal.
Goodness gracious. Those are the 5 stories. 4.5. We'll call the Twitter story a half a story, but it's big when it comes to the development community. I think it's big when it comes to indexing location, but we talked about that. We're talking about the In-Location Alliance, redcross.org's redo and their website and their app strategy. Tokyo Metro getting My Town, and PayPal seemingly about to dominate the entire world in transactions. And this is an interesting play. And it's funny because our special guest today, Michael Hagan, COO of LevelUp, is actually in this same space. But this is a snippet of what LevelUp is and how they help merchants increase basket size and bring people back by simply providing a mechanism for them to pay mobilely. So it's a pretty cool tool. We like these guys, don't we, Asif?
Love him, and Michael's a great guy too. He's if you ever get a chance to meet him in person, and anyhow. Great company, great people.
So here is Michael Hagan, COO of LevelUp, for a 5 or 6 minute clip. Enjoy this. We'll catch you on the other side. What is LevelUp, man?
Sure. So LevelUp is the Interchange Mobile Payment Network. Interchange Zero Mobile Payment Network, I should say. We have essentially solved what we call the problem that is interchange. As many of you know, if you run a business or if you're watching the show and you have ever dealt with credit card companies, you know that it's a very expensive part of your business. To accept payment via credit card actually costs you a significant amount of money, and it's particularly if you're a small business, you're paying an exorbitant percentage of any given purchase. So that was a big problem, and something that we took a very hard look at when we were getting into the mobile payment space. Our background being mobile and gaming and influence and behavior, we had some expertise in how to really add value to that transaction beyond just the simple moving of the money. And that's really the genesis for what LevelUp is. We have solved interchange. And what I mean by that is through using mobile, on the consumer side, being able to pay with your phone, and on the merchant side, being able to accept payments of mobile phones, we've been able to essentially drop interchange to zero. And you might be thinking, well, how in the world is that possible? Well, we've been able to create a business model where instead of charging interchange, we're able to add so much value to a business that we can essentially write the interchange costs off and essentially help a business grow by way of acquiring new customers, helping more customers come back more often. And so we spend a lot of time thinking about loyalty and how we can increase the engagement that a given merchant could have with their customer base, and really kind of the secret sauce that is LevelUp is how we do all of those things.
It's so I'm amazed here because you're trying to attack so many different challenges that large companies, credit card companies, these big guys, even Square, right? These the ones that you hear in the news all the time these days, are trying to attack in a different, and you're doing it in a completely different way. I do have this. Walk us through an example of something like this. So instead of charging the transaction fees that credit card companies do or credit card processing companies do, you guys offer some kind of incentive for people to come back. Walk through that process, a typical process that a merchant would use with what you guys are doing with LevelUp.
Sure. So many of the merchants have opted to create what we offer as we LevelUp offer different types of campaigns that a merchant could run using LevelUp. So any merchant can sign up and start accepting payment via LevelUp absolutely for free. The way that we monetize and the way that we make a business work is that we allow these merchants to run various types of campaigns that will add value to their business. Some people want to run campaigns that will help them acquire new users. Some people want to run loyalty campaigns that will help them keep customers coming back more often and spending more money. Others want to run a variety of different things that we offer and will continue to offer. But they all really get down to that adding value beyond just moving money. So when you take that as a baseline, one of the most popular types of campaigns that our merchants choose to run, and about 98% of them choose to run these campaigns, is a loyalty construct. And the way that unfolds with LevelUp is a given merchant, call it a coffee shop, a local coffee shop, would offer a spend 50, get 5. And what that means is when a customer comes in and spends $50 over the course of several visits, once they've unlocked that $50, once they've met that $50 threshold, they then unlock a $5 credit. And that $5 credit is usable on the next visit. And so on this subsequent visit, the customer knows that they have a $5 credit waiting there at that coffee shop for them, incentivizes them to come back, and most often we see a tremendous lift in the spend on that next transaction. And so we are able to show some really impressive numbers around both our ability to drive customers in more often, as well as spend more money on an average ticket basis. So we're very, very pleased to say that the loyalty campaign, being one of the most popular campaigns you could run with LevelUp, is really driving the ship in terms of our ability to drive results for our merchants.
And that is Michael Hagan, COO of LevelUp. You can go, for more information, go to thelevelup.com. There's a great video. There's a whole bunch of information you can find about this company. And stay tuned for the entire interview on tether.tv. See if I love these guys. I just, I hope for them. I ask him a question later on in the interview about the niche. Do they have an opportunity here? Do they want to be huge? Do they want to be small? Where do they fit? And this is such a competitive space that I hope for them. But it can't be confusing for the consumer at the end of the game. We have to enable transactions, not confuse consumers. They're going to go back to cash. We're going to start bartering back into we're going to be giving up stones. I'll trade you 3 stones for some wood.
I'm all for barter. I like barter.
Yeah, so do I.
We got a lot of stuff around here that I don't use that much, Yeah.
Yeah. Well, check it out, thelevelup.com. And if you're a merchant in the States that are using this, or if you're not, if you had an experience with this, it's a very pleasant experience. And it does increase basket size. There's statistics that Michael reveals in the interview where it's significant, the amount of money that people receive on the second and third visits, and loyalty, obviously increasing loyalty through this as well. And, the process by which they changed their thinking as a result of Scavenger, which still exists, but rolled up into LevelUp, I think is a pretty cool process as well, especially when it's about, these guys have been invested in by some big guys, and they're betting on this. So thelevelup.com. Thanks, Michael, for being a part of this, and for Untether.tv. It's one thing to listen to this show on a regular basis. It's another thing to subscribe to it on iTunes. Asif? We love people who subscribe to this show on iTunes, don't we? And we've had, for the first time in a while, we've had some great feedback from folks that have subscribed to us to iTunes. And I am absolutely going to pull it up on the screen here. But I really want you guys to take a moment here to go out, jump onto iTunes, and give this a rating. You can also subscribe to the show. Makes it easy for you, because that way when the new show actually hits the airwaves, you will get notified on it. Just like Chris Nunes, which I really appreciate this. These are 2 guys that have actually given us a great review. I'm going to read them because they are worth it, and we really appreciate this. So this is from Chris Nunes. My apologies if I didn't get that right, Chris. These guys do a great job surveying the business of local social mobile. Really appreciate the resource of the week. 2, can't believe they actually produce a whole show every week, sometimes faster than that, and sometimes even faster than I can stay on top of the podcast. Great work, guys. Keep it up. And producing is a light term here, I would say. Wouldn't you, Asif? We try to do stuff. We're not as polished as NBC or CBS, but we do our best. A second review, and that was a 4-star out of 5 stars. Like, Chris, what do we have to do to get that 5th star, buddy? Let us know. And the other review is by somebody called Actheon. Again, terrible, my apologies. Super show, incredibly rich content, great insights from field experts. Again, I would label you as an expert. I'm a tag along. So we really appreciate that. Was 5 stars, by the way. Really, really appreciate you guys out there doing this, subscribing and reviewing the show. Man, it means a lot to us. And to get that kind of response, thank you.
Yeah, we truly appreciate it, and and if there's negative stuff out there too, we want to know about it. We want to know where we can improve.
Just not in print. Send that to us personally, okay?
Send that to Rob personally.
Yes, untethered@gmail.com. Send it my way.
That's all good. So,
if you don't like my editing job, we're doing this on the fly, which is always a challenge. But we really appreciate the feedback. We're trying to bring you the most relevant stories, and if we're not, hey, you have a mechanism to reach us. We will feature the stories that you think are important to us. Reach out untethered@gmail.com or asif@thelbma.com. And thank you guys for reviewing those, for giving us those reviews. We truly, truly appreciate it. All right, on to some funding and M&A news. How about this? Before Airbnb ever existed, before that $1 billion valuation, before that house that was trashed, before all this news, there was this little company called CouchSurfing. These guys were the first.
This company's been around since 1999.
Oh my goodness.
1999. Yeah, and
I was
they're
young.
still there. They're still doing, helping you find a place to bunk down when you're on the road or wherever. Find a couch near you, kind of thing, as the name implies. And so they raised $15 million. This is a Series B from General Catalyst Partners, Menlo Ventures, Benchmark Capital. I mean, these are big guys. Total now $22.6 million raised. Apparently, they've got over 5 million users on the system today. So this is, I think the whole space. We've talked about Airbnb, trip trotting, and all that kind of stuff before. This is a one of those markets where many players can exist. These guys seem to be doing okay still. It's cheaper to use them than Airbnb from the user side of things. So we'll see where it goes. But they got an extra $15 million to help grow it.
Well, I mean, I'll take that any day. And I think that I was watching the video on these guys on CouchSurfing, and it's very much like it's a .org, couchsurfing.org, and it's an interesting thing because I think it's a bartering system. Right? I don't know much about this. I don't know much about it at all.
They start as a nonprofit, right?
Yeah.
So.
It's they're raising money. So this is a neat piece here. But they raised $15 million. As you said, that bringing their total up to over $26 million. I think this is an interesting thing. And if you've used it, I'd love to hear from you. This is, I don't know what they're going to do with that kind of money. I don't at all. But boy, oh boy, it'll be interesting to see what happens with these guys.
They've only got 30 employees, so
it's crazy. It's crazy. Well, good for them. Couchsurfing.org. Go and check them out. All right, BrainTree. This is we talk about mobile payments. Everything that we're talking about here is around mobile payments. So BrainTree acquires this company called Venmo, and Venmo is a social payment platform as well. So this is we're starting to see this roll up as the year comes to we're coming into the second half of the year. What is the significance of BrainTree buying this company, Venmo?
Well, BrainTree is a company that's been around for a long time, big player in the credit card processing side of things, the online credit card processing side of things. So not unlike in some respects, where part of PayPal sits.
But these guys do like Airbnb.
The Venmo piece is really interesting because for me, Venmo is this is, as you said, this is about social payments. So this is about paying friends for things, cab rides, transferring funds between people. So this is an interesting combination. And Venmo is not a company, that's been around all that long, right? It's only been out there, I think, less than a year. There's some big brands that are that are using them as a back-end payment system. So Angry Birds uses it, Living Social uses it, Airbnb we just talked about uses it. So there's a number of players that are on the Venmo system. So if you're BrainTree, I think this is a good pickup. It sounds like.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, social payments to me are the lowest common denominator. I think that this is one of those things that if we get right, it will lead to a much more comfortable feeling around paying with your phone. So I think that this is the beginning of this. And there's a lot of companies out there like Tweet to Pay, Text to Pay, and this is another piece along those lines. But there are still so many companies in this space. I mean, as you said, PayPal does this. It's overwhelming at some point, and you want to kind of shake the tree. You want to wait 18 months, 24 months, and then you're going to start to see. And I think that consumers are going to have to wait that long before something that becomes universal starts to emerge because of all of these. So lots more acquisitions. There have to be lots of more acquisitions when it comes to this. And I think they just kind of roll up into three main companies at some point, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, no, I do. I mean, we've talked about that before. I think, like we saw with the early location check-in space, we saw companies get bought up by the bigger players. I think the same thing happens in sort of in the payments world as well. So.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be very interesting. I mean, next year is going to be that year because, by 2014 we have to be fully entrenched in payments, or else this might take forever. And especially when you start to talk about the money that's at stake here. And again, it can't just be replacing. A company like Venmo adds a little bit considerable value actually to the replacing cash industry that a lot of companies are focusing on right now. And I think that we're going to see many offshoots to what they're doing. But again, massive roll-ups that we got to start seeing in order to be able to accelerate the adoption of payments in the coming year or so. So BrainTree acquiring Venmo. If you're interested in Venmo, just go to Venmo.com and you'll find out a little bit more information about them. I'll include a link, obviously, in the show notes. Our last news here. This is... okay, so let me get this right. You take one company that went bankrupt, went into receivership, and you take another company that went into receivership, and you let them emerge from receivership, and then a year and a half later you say, hey, let's take a bad idea and put it with another bad idea and merge the two together and create, does too bad equal a good here?
It might. I think it's got a good shot. Sometimes... I'm a big believer, we sort of just alluded to this in some respects about, little companies being bought up by big companies. And I think sometimes size, gives you the ability to compete in a better way. I think for me, that's what this is all about.
So
we're talking about DexOne and SuperMedia. And when you look at the U.S. directory business, and that's the business that both of these guys are coming from. There's really only a handful of companies of any note of size. And here you have two of the biggest effectively coming together or forming the biggest now. Based on this deal. So collectively, between the two companies, you've got $3.1 billion in revenue based on their 2011 numbers. There's a 60-40 split on the shares around this between Dex holding 60 and the SuperMedia guys holding 40. This will be interesting. I mean, this is this is a sizable deal in a still important business of directories, and we're not talking just print yellow pages here. We're talking online directories. We're talking about recommendation engines tied to this. When you're talking about location data, you're talking about reputation engines connected to this. That's a big part of where the directory business is going right now. Is not just here's the business listing information, but here's the reputation score of this particular business and things like that as well. So there's a lot of pieces to this. But now you've got three companies that'll now run this market. So you've got YP, Yellow Pages, group. You have this new combined thing which will be called Dex Media, and you have Yellow Book out of the UK. And those are your big three.
Yeah, big is probably good in this instance, but I love how they lead with the fact that this combined company is going to save between $150 and $175 million. Shows you the excess and the waste that's going on in this space. And can they turn the corner? I don't know. I come from old school math, where you take a negative and you add a negative, and it doesn't equal a positive here. I don't see this as a good move. This is a survival move. I would have been much more appreciative of this if they had gone out and bought a company that was in a space that actually could complement what they're doing, other than merging these two. So, is this just an accelerated demise for this?
Yeah, I won't disagree with your survival comment at all on this. I think that's a fair comment. But I think you've got a better chance of surviving with some size than you do independently, just letting it go.
Absolutely. And we talked about what Groupon was doing, or not what Groupon, what Living Social, was it Living Social that was doing this, where they were tying in with the Yellow Pages Salesforce. Correct. And maybe I think that there's a play here for partnerships. Amazon, yeah. That's right, not Living Social. Amazon was doing it. I think that there's a play here for that kind of relationship with this type of directory, and especially keep coming back to this. We had a great guy, we had a great company that came on to Untethered Talks, Inrix, and they talk about big data. And I think that what these guys, so whatever this company looks like, their data is now much more valuable than all the information that they have. So as you were saying earlier, all of that data that they're collecting around preferences and around purchasing behaviors and searches and contextualized information, that is much more valuable than anything that they could have. So why not start publishing some data? Open up a new division, open up a new business around the data that's coming from this, so that we can actually enhance and increase retail experience and findability and all those things that retailers are struggling with in this digital world. Help them and use that data for some good. But you can sell it, because quite frankly, retailers are interested in this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
they can do that. So hopefully these guys, Dex Media, this combination, starts thinking that way, and they're not just putting these two companies together to do the same business that they were in before, because that would just, to me, signify the end of that company. So Dex Media, interesting. They're going to save between $150 and $175 million just by joining. You think that even independently they could have saved a third of that, half of that? It just seems like there's so much excess being spent. And then you see how big this industry really is still, when they can save that much money just in duplication. So that's it. If your story was not up there, it's your fault, because you didn't tell anybody. And I would fire your marketing person and your PR person if you are not on one of those stories, because it's pretty easy. We are cheap. We are so cheap. All you have to do is reach out on tetheredgmail.com or seif@thelbma.com. We will get your story, funding, M&A, whatever it is. We'll get it into our top funding stories. Reach out, please, 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 or else you will have hours.
And if you're interested in sponsoring the podcast, we're open to that too.
Yes.
So let us know.
We're not adverse to taking cash from you, the fine listener. I'm not going to charge for the podcast, but it would be great if we could actually keep it floating. 92 episodes in. That is it for the funding and M&A activity. Good week, a good week. We only have one little bit left, which is the resource of the week. And I don't know about you, Asif, but I think that they've underestimated the value of mobile ad spend by 2017. First of all, you know my point. You know my opinion about people who predict that far into the future, right? They're full of shit, right? But when people put this kind of value on 7.4 billion by 2017, it assumes a lot, but it is a big number, and those people that are doing it seem to be in the know. So let's talk about this number. Do you believe this number, Asif?
Personally, I think the number is low.
Yeah.
So this is a number coming from a new study from Juniper Research. Saying that mobile ad spend is going to be 7.4 billion by 2017. Personally, I think it's low. I think it's going to be a lot higher than that. I think the way mobile advertising is actually going to happen is here's where I'm coming from. Making a prediction to 2017 on mobile advertising based on how we receive mobile ads today, what's the point of that? Because by the time 2017 rolls around, we'll be getting ads in all sorts of ways we can't even imagine yet.
Yep.
So that's the challenge I have with this. But anyways, with that said, we'll have at least $7.4 billion, I think, in this framework. They're talking a lot about, much of it being centered around SMS, which I completely agree with, because I've been on an SMS bandwagon for a little while now, and I've been saying, look, the simplicity of SMS in terms of delivering location-based contextual ads or content or whatever the case might be in a geofencing model, is far easier than having to have people download apps and go through all that kind of stuff. So there's a bit of a sort of, for me, a disconnect in the report here that talks about, the paper's called Mobile Ads for Mobile Apps, and then they talk about SMS. Well, what does SMS have to do with a mobile app? I don't know. But anyways, that aside,
you wonder why people are confused.
At least $7.4 billion in mobile advertising, SMS to lead the way. Done.
In apps, SMS in apps to lead the way in mobile advertising. I'm with you on this. People who think that they can predict 5 years into the future you can't. People didn't see this industry coming. They didn't see this coming. And by the way, as you said, the way that we use mobile advertising today is going to be drastically different going forward. Banner ads are going to be gone in 5 years. I'm hoping that banner ads and mobile devices are gone in 5 years, and there's going to be a new way of doing this. And it isn't going to be a discount. It isn't going to be notifications and pop-ups and all the stuff that people are shying away from now because it's just being abused consistently. The challenge that I have with this is that we're focusing on the wrong number. We are. $7.4 billion in revenue is fine. It's effectiveness that I'm interested in. It is direct impact on the consumer and on the retailer as a result of that ad. We focus on the value of the market far too much because that market can implode any moment if the consumer and the retailer cannot get together and create some value. It's not fat finger pushing buttons or clicking on banner advertisements by accidents that generate the revenue. It has to be effective. And I think that if we focus like this, like we did on the web, so solely on the industry, like $7.4 billion, you know what? I'd be much more interested in knowing what the net impact is on retailers as a result of these ads. So I would look at it, say the net impact of this $7.4 billion spent on ads is $1 trillion in transactions. That's the number that I'm much more interested in. The value that people receive as a result of this. We got to get out of this whole labeling everything as a value like $7.4 billion. You know what? Because that could disappear in a second if it's not proven valuable to the consumer or the retailer. And I think that that's what we risk here. As you said, whoever thinks that they can predict by 2017 is full of it. But this is, methodology's here. And if you base it all on what we did yesterday, the curve looks like that. And the curve's going to continue. And if you plot that up by 2017, that probably is the number you're going to get. But don't hold your breath on it. I think that we will exceed that as soon as we find the right way to advertise effectively through these devices.
Excellent.
I felt like this was a ranty one for me today, Asif. I don't know what's going on.
Well, it's always a little bit ranty, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm in a good mood. Can you imagine if I...
Well, yeah, you saw Springsteen. You should be in a good mood.
I did.
Did you check in?
I did. I checked in at the Rogers Center, yes, of course, and I didn't get a swarm badge or something like that. I'm in Canada though. It's we only have 9 people that use Foursquare up here, anyways. Mostly Asif, by the way.
We're 2 of them.
Yes.
So there you go. Yeah.
Hi. So there's nothing going on. I mean, we're coming into the end of August. We are coming into the Labor Day weekend, and we are coming to back to school. So you are in town for the next bunch of weeks, a couple of weeks, and not heading out on the road, which is great.
Exactly, and but yeah, it's as soon as school starts, work starts too. So
yes,
plenty going on.
It seems that way. And now that Springsteen is done, I turn my attention to the Yankees winning the World Series and Springsteen coming to Ottawa on October 19th. So I have a very limited scope here, and in between there is my kids' first day of both of them grade 1. So I will.
The biggest problem we have right now is there going to be a hockey season?
Yes, it is.
That's the biggest concern we have right now. So
I don't really care about the hockey season until like April, right? I'll miss it then.
I've already bought tickets to the Winter Classic, so.
Oh yeah.
I'm planning on going to Ann Arbor to watch this thing, and I don't know if there's going to be a hockey season. So.
Well, they'll have somebody. It'll be the old timers. They'll play. All right, you guys who are still watching, still listening, whatever you're doing, if you wanted to contribute to this, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out by email, untethered@gmail.com or asif@thelbma.com. You can Twitter us at Rob Woodbridge or at AsifRCon or at the LBMA. You can hit us up on Facebook. You can hit us up everywhere. You can leave us a comment where you found this, and we'd love to hear from you. What do you think? And if you are so inclined, please subscribe to this through iTunes and leave a comment there as well. We can't respond, so if you do happen to leave a comment, we'd love you to send us a note saying, hey, I left you a comment on iTunes. Here's my email address, because we'd love to reach out and thank you personally on this. So thanks for the folks that have already done that. Thank you guys for listening and watching, or watching wherever you are. And Asif, man, episode number 92 done.
Absolutely.
We're getting up there.
Looking forward to 93.
We will be back next week for episode number 93 of This Week in Location-Based Marketing. I'm gonna end this, of course, the way that we came into this with little Bruce Springsteen. It's gonna take you out here. You're probably not gonna be able to watch this on iTunes, but Asif, man, have a great week.
You too, buddy.
See you later,
Cheers.
everybody.
Swung their axes, said Johnny, you're a cheater. The pimps swung their axes, said Johnny, you're a liar. Out of the shadows came a young girl's voice, said Johnny, don't cry. Johnny cried, Puerto Rican Jane. Oh, won't you tell me what's your name? I want to drive you down to the other side of town, where paradise ain't so crowded. There'll be action going down on Shanty Lane tonight. All them golden eared fairies and a real bitch ride, pull 38s and kiss the girls goodnight.
Welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing. On today's show, Twitter shuts down the door. Doesn't shut down the door.